Welcome to Founders Club. We're so happy to have you. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome in. If you are back for another round, welcome back. Today, we're joined by Katy, co-founder of Joi Blokes, and she's sharing with us how personal health struggles led to building a comprehensive hormone optimization and longevity platform. It's a mouthful. I promise you, she breaks it down perfectly. You're going to love it. From navigating complex telehealth regulations and legal challenges to the decision to bootstrap rather than raise venture capital, Katy unpacks the reality of working with your spouse, the importance of patient advocacy, and why grit is the most essential trait for entrepreneurial survival. Let's get right into it.
All right, Katy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for joining
having
us.
me.
So excited to have this conversation.
Same.
So tell us about Joi Blokes. What was the problem you were trying to solve?
Yeah, well, lots of problems. So first of all, it's my husband and I actually run this company together. And it was my husband, Josh, that had his issues first. So he was a healthcare entrepreneur, and we were newly married. And he had this pretty stressful career, and then also was burning the candle at both ends. And we got married, got pregnant right away. We were both really excited. And then we had a traumatic loss with that first pregnancy where it was like, genetic fatal flaw, which we couldn't help. So it was pretty hard on us. So I feel like all of that like stress together really messed with him, his hormones. But at the time we couldn't figure it out. Like he just kept going to different doctors and they were like, you're fine, maybe lose some weight. There was no real solutions. So him being, the healthcare entrepreneur that he saw the opportunity to like figure it out for himself and then for others. So he launched Blokes, which is modern men's health, just for men. And I was like, great, I'll support you. I'm not going to be involved. And then a few years later, I kind of had my own issues. I, ended up having more miscarriages, doing all the IVF stuff. And then had some babies when I was in my early 40s, which was great. They're healthy, happy. But then I was like a complete mess. And so, and also at that time felt really abandoned by the system because there was no help after that, as you may know. Like there's so much help to get pregnant. And then when you're done, it's like, you're great. And you're like, I'm not great. So I went through the men's side of the program and I was really helped tremendously. I was pretty shocked at like the tools that were available. I don't feel like they were widely known at that time. And so that's when I was like, we've got to do this for women. And so together we launched the women's side, after the guys was already going. So we called that Joi. And then, earlier this year, we combined the brands to say Joi Blokes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned your husband, Josh, had his problems first, and then you went through what you went through. Are you open to sharing some of the symptoms he was dealing with?
Oh, yeah. He like I said, he was going too hard in all areas of his life. The main thing that was really dramatic was at the time when I was trying to start our family, he literally had lost his sex drive. And it wasn't long after we were married. So it was like everything's normal, fine. And then all of a sudden, like I could not get this man to have sex with me. Like that was the telltale sign. And again, we didn't know it at the time, but I was just like, what is going on? It created a lot of problems in the marriage because of course I thought, is it me?
Of course, you feel so rejected.
I know, So that was like the biggest thing. But ultimately, once he started feeling better, he replaced his testosterone is what he did. It's way more than sex drive. I mean, he started getting his energy and his motivation, and he wanted to go to the gym. He started losing weight. He started, it helps with brain fog. So it was ultimately like the libido is what really was an issue for us, but everything else was affected too.
Totally.
You mentioned for you, like, you were having kids in your early 40s, like having kids and the experience of being a parent, the first thing that you're told is, well, enjoy your sleep while you have it, right? How do you differentiate between, well, I'm tired because I have kids, or I'm tired because something else might be up?
That is such a good question. I think we like normalize too. Like we normalize, oh, I'm a parent now, so I'm just going to be tired for the rest of my life, when I don't think that's accurate or true. Like it's true for a season. Like when they're a little baby and they're not sleeping through the night, of course, you're going to be tired for amount of time, right? But after that, like you do need to figure out how to get yourself back and your sleep back and get your energy back. And I feel like, again, too much in our culture, we just like normalize those things, and then we end up not feeling well for the majority of our, second half of our lives.
Especially the journey of being an entrepreneur, where sometimes like busy and tired is like a badge of honor.
Yes,
it really shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. No, yeah. I mean, that's especially what I've learned, in this industry is like, I can't be a good business owner if I'm not like feeling well, if I'm not taking care of myself. And so that's like front and center. Like, how do I have to take care of myself first so that I can show up and do the work?
What does that look like for you?
Oh my gosh. It's a lot of different things, and it changes. I think especially, I'm in my mid 40s now. So, I feel like it's an especially hard time for women, with a lot of hormone shifts. So I've had to do things like stop drinking or cut back on drinking, watch caffeine too, which is a hard one for me. I do a lot of lab tests on myself. I'm on all the hormones and stuff. So I check in there. And then it's interesting because what I find through there is like, there's times when I don't feel as well. And then I'll do a lab and go, okay, these are the things I've got to address. Maybe my, zinc or vitamin D or low or whatever. So it's constantly changing, but it like overall, the point is like, you've got to take care of yourself and check in and do what you got to do.
Totally. The whole industry, and what do we call it? Like, is it functional health or functional medicine? Is it hormone health? Like, what do you label it as?
I mean, I feel like right now there's just this, everyone's calling it longevity.
Longevity. Okay, cool. So the longevity industry, I mean, it has like exploded, right, in the last several years.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, I imagine that that's a positive thing because there's a lot more education, awareness, and people are realizing like, oh, I actually can feel better. I don't just have to be tired and busy and have low energy, right? On the other hand, it makes the space more crowded, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do you guys differentiate yourself in this increasingly crowded space?
Yeah, it's kind of wild because when we first started, I felt like we were a little bit more on an island. That's like 4.5 years ago, and we started doing like bigger lab panels, and it was almost like we had to educate people.
Yep.
Recently, like especially this year, within the last year or so, there's some big players that came in, and they're really, honestly, helping with that education, which is a good thing, but it is
because it brings more awareness.
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole preventative, proactive, like check in with yourself, own your own health, like you be empowered.
Yeah. Versus
the old way is like you go to a doctor, you listen to what they want to tell you and you say, okay, and leave and do what they tell you. Like that's changing, which I think is a good thing. But in terms of differentiation, I think, we were born out of our health struggles, like our human married couple health struggles. And one thing that's really important to us is keeping that like human touch, the community, even the one-on-one with the clinicians. So what I think is super important, like there's so much tech and AI right now, which is awesome, important, like we're doing all that too. But how we differentiate is we actually believe that you still need that time, that 30 minutes, even 60 minutes with a human to help you interpret your labs, to help listen to what's going on, to kind of walk through it with you. Because the craziest thing I see is people say, oh, I finally feel heard.
Yes.
And it's wild, like a 45-year-old woman, let's say, like, you're telling me you haven't felt heard your whole life going to doctors. So that's kind of wild. But I feel like you can't get that with AI. AI is great, but you're not going to get that with AI. So that's important to us.
Yeah, it sounds like the relationship is like so important for retention, I would imagine, right?
For sure.
And I guess I have a two-part question. One, I'm curious about like, I guess your pipeline, like how does the customer, actually even starting from the point at which a customer would, or client, whatever you might call them, is sort of recognizing, oh, I have a problem and it could be solved through something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how do they gain that awareness and education? And then how do they find you? And then how do they, I guess, convert to being a client?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is awareness coming with all this movement, which is really great. So
is that like podcasts, like what's like Instagram, like how are people learning that kind of stuff?
I mean, we're on Instagram a ton. I mean, I think ambassadors and people spreading the word that way is super helpful. That's the Google metas are getting crowded too. So you've got to, find other ways to get the message out. But that awareness is really, it's interesting. Like when I look at the numbers, 77% of people that come through our doors say energy is their biggest complaint. And they're biggest goal. So it's just noticing like, hey, something's off. I'm not feeling like I should. And then, probably an influencer or an ad pops up where they're like, hey, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's figure it out.
Right. And it's interesting because, I don't know about you, Vincent, but like I think especially as a woman who's gone through the medical system and actually like is in it right now, there's just so much being dismissed and being told like that's in your head or like that's just how it is or, you're being a hypochondriac. I mean, no one has ever labeled me as that, but it's kind of a bit dismissive. Like it's like, like this isn't actually a thing, right? Like your labs look normal. And I mean, gosh, many, many years ago, I learned about like, normal versus optimal ranges,
Right.
I think was the terminology, right? And that was like born through my own thyroid challenges and realizing like, no, something feels off and advocating again and again and again and finally finding an answer and feeling validated. But like, if I wasn't, educated and knew how to read peer-reviewed journals and like had people in the wellness industry and was like kind of not aggressive, but assertive, we'll say, like I wouldn't do that, right? Like I would have just been like, oh, I guess it's me. Like,
right.
Let me take whatever kind of, Western medicine, pharmaceutical I should take. So I guess I feel empowered and excited hearing that there are a lot of people who are kind of taking control of their health. Do you see that as like a shift, like, or a movement toward where people recognize like there actually is another way and a different way to feel better?
Yeah, 100%, especially with women. And I will say it's interesting because I find a lot of women are very angry about it, and rightfully
we should
so.
be, yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
I mean, really been underserved for a long time.
Yeah.
So, it's hard for us because if you come to us, already upset, you already don't trust the system. It's kind of like climbing up a hill to be like, it's all right. Like this is, ultimately we want to be your partner in helping you get to whatever you want to get to and make sure you're safe along the way. But that's why you want to provide the education and empower the patient so that they feel good about what they're doing.
Totally. And that brings us back to the clinicians, where it sounds like, you're really, I would imagine, hire clinicians who are very like empathetic and, really make the customer feel heard. But if you compare to, let's say, like another very popular lab testing platform right now that doesn't have the sort of one-on-one, video experience, and I would guess is maybe at a lower price point. I don't know. You can point that out for me as to whether it is or not, or whether the types that don't have that kind of one-on-one interaction. How does that, I guess, affect your business model? Like not only having to ensure quality control over your clinicians, right? Which I imagine is a huge piece, but then just like that added overhead versus the AI clinical report that you might get with other unnamed platforms.
Yeah. Well, I think when you compare it side by side, we're actually more affordable. And we include, when you look at our comprehensive, which is like 110 biomarkers, we include a 60-minute visit with that.
Amazing.
We don't honestly make money on that. We're just trying to get you in and see what we can do. And we want to earn your business to be in it in the long run.
Cool. Because it's a subscription model. Is that right?
Generally, yeah. Yeah. I mean, easy to cancel and say I'm out, but for sure, when you're on hormones, you need constant, or any kind of like that kind of care, you need follow-up.
Totally.
You need more lab testing to see how you're doing. So, I mean, I would say, actually, I can't remember what the rest of the question was.
It's just like,
Vincent, over to you.
like I think about like other competitors in the marketplace, like in other industries. Like I went through Invisalign. I fortunately did that during the pandemic. It was the best time to get Invisalign was during the pandemic. Yeah. And there were direct consumer players in the industry where it's just like get a scan, they'll ship a box. You don't really have a point of contact.
Smile Direct,
and I wasn't going to name that one, but that one.
They're done. I think
they're done.
So
they're gone.
R.I.P.
And so there's like I think at one point there was like a stat for Smile Direct where it was like 98% of the time it goes smoothly. It's just like the 2% of the time where it doesn't go smoothly. Things get really scary really quickly. And so, as you're going through this like health journey, like this is not just like taking extra vitamin C where you're just going to pee the rest out. Like if it doesn't get absorbed, like these are fundamentally making changes to your body.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like as you've scaled and gone through just like different stages of growth, like what have been some of the more challenging moments or surprising moments?
Oh my gosh, so much. First of all, I even remember my husband and I having this conversation that we started this in COVID as well. Mm-hmm. And before that had brick and mortar regenerative medicine clinics. So like stem cells. those got shut down from COVID. And so when we were doing this, we're like, well, telehealth is the obvious choice. And then we're like, it's going to be so much easier than having a brick and mortar. And oh my gosh, were we very wrong on that. It is not easier. Scaling problems is like, there's so much around healthcare regulations.
Multi-state licensing.
Oh yeah. And then obviously federal regulations, where you can ship to, all the different laws, all the different licensing. You know, we hire all kinds of different clinicians, but a lot of them are NPs, so you have to have supervision. You have obviously your medical malpractice. All of that's, you know, challenging. And then the other crazy kind of piece about it was when we started, telehealth was pretty new-ish, not widely adopted, and so the technology was not
What's
there.
all new?
Right.
Oh, I remember, so funny. In the early days, whenever there was a time change, like daylight savings, there was not good software to go state to state, different time zones. So every time we were all like huddled, we were like, oh no, tomorrow is going to be hard. And like, then we'd have to go through and like call everyone and say your appointments. I mean, it was just like wild. The technology is just.
And like state by state, Arizona. Yeah, that totally resonated. My wife is a WHNP, FMP, IFN certified, but she's got licenses, I think, in like 15 different states, but the amount of continuing education and just like the renewal process, and it's a lot.
It is a lot. So we really we need to hire people, first of all, who care, like to your point of like quality control. Like you're looking for someone who like is invested in someone's health and really takes their own health seriously and wants to keep learning and continue the education, because there's always new stuff coming out. So those are the challenges. But we put, you know, we have our own, what we call Joi Blokes University, that we put our clinicians through. So, you know, hopefully they've got great knowledge before they come, but then we make sure, you know, they know how to go through a lab and how to interpret everything, and make sure they're up to date on peptides, because what we do is not traditional stuff. So that's not what's learned in general medical school.
Totally. Going back to just the marketing piece for a moment, I heard you mention peptides there. And first of all, for people who aren't familiar, what are peptides? Yeah,
they're a short chain amino acid. So if you think of a protein would be, you know, a longer chain. So it's just a shorter, like a building block to that. And what they do is they tell your cells to perform specific tasks. So you can get a peptide for skin health, a peptide for hair growth, a peptide for energy. There's peptides for weight loss, all those, you know, different kinds of mechanisms.
So again, educating the consumer, for someone who's like, I don't know what a peptide is, like you're saying, hey, we sell peptides and we, you know, will help balance your hormones. Like how, I guess, like what is like your clear kind of branding or marketing message? Like, I guess if I were a consumer, I might be like, I'm not totally sure like what I should come to Joi Blokes for. Like, is it weight loss? Is it longevity? Is it energy, or is it all of the above? And you guys were like, we're just going to tackle all of it, and we want to be the one-stop shop for like feeling better, looking better, that kind of thing.
Honestly, I think it's the key is if you know something's off, like you're like, I'm just not feeling myself. Maybe you're not sleeping at night, you know, just something is off and you're not really sure what it is. Like if something's like real off and you're dying, you're not going to come to us. You're going to go to your general doctor. You're going to go to the ER, your general. If you break a bone, you're going to go to a surgeon. But like, they're not the people you go to when you're just like, I feel like something could be better. You know, that's really where we shine.
Imagining like going to my next PCP visit saying, like overall, I'm not in pain, but I'm a little tired.
Like, totally. Get some sleep. I don't know. Take some Ambien. I don't know.
So Katy, how have you grown as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a leader since starting Joi Blokes?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like this has been a nonstop challenge for me. So I do think I've grown, and I've grown to have a thick skin and keep going. And, you know, I feel like my job is really just to constantly fix the issues. And so it makes you pretty tough to have to every day go in and go, what are we going to solve today? Because it's not fun and glamorous, you know, like the fun stuff like marketing and creative, I get to do that too. But like most of it is like fixing the hard crap.
Is that something that is new for you, or has that kind of always been your job? Like if we go way back, is that sort of been a theme for you throughout your life, or?
Good question. I mean, no, originally I did some marketing and advertising, and then I got into finance and did fixed income sales, which is very relationship driven. So this is a pretty big departure for me, for sure.
And how do you find it?
Well, it's a challenge, but it's something that's so important to me now that I also feel like I'm going to see it through. Like I'm very determined. And so I just really believe in it, and I believe it's important. Like even though the days can be really stressful, like when I get someone telling me like, oh my gosh, you've changed my life, or I got a message the other day from a girlfriend who's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can say this, but she was like, thank you for that peptide, because now I can finally go to the bathroom. Like I'm regular. And I'm just like, what a great message to get. I'm glad I'm helping you on the toilet. You know, it's just kind of, but like all that stuff really matters. So I feel like this is way more special than anything I've done before.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I know about you, Vincent, but I feel like that's the theme from any entrepreneur that I speak to who, has to cultivate perseverance, right?
Yeah.
Like through challenging times and seasons and chapters and whatever, like they're like, I just have to come back to the mission, right? Like have to come back to being like, this is helping people. There's a bigger reason I'm doing this. It's not just about the money. It's not just about the fame or the glamour or whatever. It's because I really like recognize that I need to bring this to the humanity.
I mean, grit is the number one thing that differentiates successful entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who don't make it, because this journey is so hard that if it was easy, a lot of more people would do it. When you take a look at the number of businesses that shut down in the first 5 years, like not all of that is product market fit. A lot of that is the journey is just hard.
Totally.
The burnout. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I am, and it feels a little bit lonely sometimes, but I do feel like I am always teetering on that edge of burnout. So it's like, that's why I'm like, step back, what can you do to take care of yourself?
Totally. Like 6 months ago, I went down the journey of like, what does peak performance look like in terms of just like entrepreneurship? Because you're right, a lot of that is just your ability to be able to show up in the right mindset, having the right energy, to be able to think through problems critically, to be able to like solve relational challenges. And there's habits for entrepreneurs that as you build in these right habits, and I think it's different for everybody, like they can definitely make a difference. Like mine has been midday walks after lunch.
I love that.
NAD about a year ago has been a part of my journey that's been a game changer. Like what would you recommend for an entrepreneur who's saying like, I want to be able to, maybe my company's going through a hard time, or maybe in my relationship I'm going through a hard time, or maybe like I have a newborn at home and that's a naturally hard time. Like what are the normal habits, and then what are kind of like the starting points if you've never done labs other than what your PCP has ordered, you've never heard of peptides, you're not into any of the modalities?
Yeah. I mean, the basics, sleep and stress are, if you can pull on those levers and manage those things, not easy, but, very foundational. And then we sell and prescribe NAD. I love that. There's a bunch of things like that are helpful tools to keep you going. And, I try to do, I love the afternoon walks and the grounding and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of got to just, even if it's 5 minutes here or there, take that for yourself.
Even just getting outside, right? Like just getting a little bit of like sunlight. And vitamin D, I guess, is probably another big one. But
I love to work from my porch when it's not like 100 degrees.
I tried that the other day and my computer like shut off within like 3 minutes. And I was like, oh,
you're like,
it's
not
still
today,
too hot.
Nashville.
No, not today. Exactly.
When it's not hot out. So that's like October 20th through October 22nd.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. In terms of like starting though, like I think it's pretty easy. Like, so we have 3 lab options. Like one is, we call the complete hormone. And so that's the basic one, 56 markers. You get a 30-minute clinician. And for new customers, it's only $75. And then we have an advanced, which is in the middle, and our comprehensive over 100 with an hour clinician visit. So you really just pick a lab. And then once you decide on one, we'll help set you up at a LabCorp Quest. We can also send someone to your home if you live in, a populated area. And then that's easy. After that, we'll get you scheduled with a clinician to go over the results. So it's kind of cool what you can see from those results, and there's always something to work on.
And that seems very reasonable. Like
Yeah, the
75
market.
bucks for
Yeah.
sorry, how many markers did you say?
56 is
56
in that one.
markers for 75 bucks and a clinician visit. Like that's
Very accessible.
I mean,
yeah.
really the goal is, functional medicine has always been for the elite, like unaccessible. And I think one wonderful thing about telehealth is that it really expands that accessibility.
Totally.
So I think that's a great thing for health in America.
Yeah. Well, I know that you did not raise capital intentionally,
Yeah.
which is like shocking for a company like this, right? Like to be able to do what you're doing or want to do what you're doing, like is very challenging without that. And so tell us more about that decision. And I guess what, how you had to kind of combine like bootstrapping, I would imagine in some areas, but also recognizing that like, I imagine this is like a pretty
Solid cash flow.
solid cash flow, capital intensive undertaking.
Yeah. Honestly, we were naive. We've never been in that kind of finance world of like raising money and that kind of thing. So we just believed in what we were doing, believed we could do a good job, believed it was valuable. And so we did invest some of our own money. And then we knew no other way besides just grinding and making it work and piecing things together. And, lately we've certainly talked to people. We had a deal we were looking at. We're looking at debt right now. We did a small friends and family, which has really helped. So it is a stretch. It's been stressful, but we've been doing the things to kind of keep growing. And I don't know what we'll do in the future, but it really feels good to be able to make the decisions on our own. Like when we were in talks with someone who was a potential investor, it was a little bit scary to be like, oh, so now you're going to kind of call the shots, that kind of stuff. So ultimately it's more stressful, but we're happy that it's still our company.
Totally. So what's the next step for you guys, if you're willing to share?
Yeah, we're hoping to get some debt to kind of take off some of that stress. And then we're really just working on scaling and becoming more recognizable and helping more people. So that's next for us. I have heard that there's some new peptides that possibly might come through, like be able to compound again. So some new cool stuff coming out hopefully soon in the peptide space.
Cool.
What else do you get excited about? Like when you take a look at health trends, tech trends, AI trends, like how do you see all of this culminating together in like the next evolution?
Ultimately, I think what we do, even though it's having a moment, is still like a real small, very tiny sliver of the healthcare industry. So I think probably in 5 or 10 years, I'm very hopeful that our current system will switch from that reactive system to the preventative system, and more like less, provider driven and more like empowered patient. I'm hoping that becomes just more mainstream and not kind of like the fringe that it is right now.
It feels like it is. I don't know if I'm just living in my own little echo chamber of
some of that, but it can't be all
other
of it,
people who have also read Peter Attia's book.
But I'm curious, like I would imagine, gosh, like there's some insurance companies that are reimbursing based on like gym memberships and stuff now, aren't there? Isn't that like a thing? Or at least it wasn't.
Employers
a lot
have
of employers
motivation
do.
to have healthy people for sure.
Yeah. So like, is that something that could be the future? Like, or would you guys be able to kind of get behind in that more preventative space?
Yeah. In general, we've chosen not to work with insurance this far. And honestly, like, first of all, insurance doesn't cover most of what we do. And then, and literally we have had patients insist on, my insurance will cover these labs, send it to them. And we've done that. And the bills come back in the thousands of dollars. And it's like awful and shocking for those people. And we're like, that's the system.
Totally.
So I think, there's always a chance to when insurance shifts and changes, but we've chosen not to use it so far. So we'll see how that changes.
Well, or even, I mean, as Vincent said, I mean, workplaces, right? Or and not even just physically. Like I'm even just thinking, obviously, like as a therapist, I look through the mental health lens, right? But like disability is like depression is the leading cause of disability. So it's like if you think about people who might have depression because their vitamin D levels are super low, right? Or their B12, or like their
women in menopause,
or in postpartum. Like there's just so many places where our mental health is so affected because of a hormonal imbalance or thyroid condition. Like there are so many things there, and it'd just be interesting to if our
I agree with you.
culture could
Like
take that on.
I think a lot of employers are looking at it just in terms of how to attract talent. I know for us, like we're a small company, but even as a small business, we have a $500 health and wellness benefit that you get at your 6-month anniversary of being an employee. We're pretty lax about what you can use it for. A lot of our team's in Denver, so it can go anything from ski pass to purchasing an Oura Ring or paying for a part of a gym membership. But this has definitely been something that we've seen allows us to be able to stand out. And, it feels like the team gets excited about it and keeps track of it. But,
that's awesome. I love that.
It is something that I hope more employers will do.
Totally. Well, I hope Joi Blokes will be.
We are working on it.
It's on the qualified list.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So can you let's just before we close, get to some more of your entrepreneurial wisdom for anyone who's listening, who's considering starting a company in, let's say, either the health space or the health tech space. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, especially in the health space, I would say make sure you have a good legal support team or legal counsel to really make sure you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's. There's a lot of different regulations, and not just like shipping a prescription. There's like a lot of different things with marketing and how you can, what you can claim in an ad.
Are you willing to share a couple of those just so people have an idea or like an example?
Yeah, I mean, we actually got a legal letter from someone that said, you can't offer a discount to or something about a discount, or it was false advertising or something silly, because it was like a very silly little claim. So we had to deal with that. And then we had another lawsuit where someone actually didn't read the label, and they weren't allowed to take the DHEA because they're in a professional sport, and so they sued us because of that, even though it's like on the label. I mean, there's just so many random things that we did not foresee would happen legal wise. So it's just like you've got to be buttoned up unless you have money to pay for lawsuits, which we don't.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think I remember gosh, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in like the supplements industry, but I remember there being some claim around like you can't, there's certain supplements you can't that say that they help with sleep or help with there's certain things that they can't make claims of.
Oh, totally.
Which is, so it's like, how do you market something
it's
when you
very
can't
challenging.
say it helps with sleep
especially
or
on Google and Meta. So
we
we prescribe a lot of testosterone for both men and women, but that's a very challenging one to put money behind, because there's a lot of, it's to in the sex category, which is a little bit silly because it's not just about sex, but that's where they put it.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, red tape around that.
Yes. You have to kind of find a way to say what you want to say without really saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just pick a different industry.
Yeah, totally.
Just make some water or something. I don't know.
You have anything else, Vincent? I think got a couple more, if not.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So, I know you work with your husband, and there are a lot of people listening who might work with either a friend or a partner. Any advice for managing that relationship, the working relationship within the romantic relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that's also been a challenge. I feel like we're really good partners in a lot of ways, so it's worked. And I do love sharing that mission and sharing wins. But we've definitely learned the hard way that, we both have different styles. So you got to be able to allow space for that different way of working for the both. I mean, my husband is very masculine and very tough and a go, which is great for the business. But for me, it doesn't, I'm way more on the feminine side. So I'm just I just do things differently. And sometimes that we can butt heads that way. So I think it's very important for us to do the date night. It's important for us to like talk to someone every once in a while and also just have some space and give each other some grace.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, you two and your parents too, right?
Yeah.
You said of 2 kids. So to be, parents of a startup and children.
And it
try to
really
continue
it all
relationship.
comes back to like take care of yourself, because whenever like something happens and we have an issue, it's probably because we lost sight of the fact that like you've got to mentally be okay. Like your mental health has to be in check, and you need to do whatever you need to do to make sure you're feeling all right.
Yeah. So, things like patience, right? Which is so important in a relationship, requires capacity. And so like if we don't have capacity, we're not going to have patience, right? We're going to be so much more reactive when we don't have those things. So if you're super stressed and you haven't been sleeping and, you feel dysregulated, then it's going to be difficult to be kind to each other and patient with each other, right?
Exactly. And the mindset too. Like I think that we often have to check ourselves and go like, this is not like this is not everything. Like there's other things going on. Like, you got to pull back a little bit, because as an entrepreneur, it's like you're everything. It's like you're sleeping, you're breathing, you're eating. Like you got to pull back a little bit.
Yeah. Where else do you put your, let's say, like self-worth? Like I'll often describe it as diversifying our self-worth when we're entrepreneurs, because like it's so easy to put all of your worth into like this one thing. Yeah. And we have to diversify because like, that's kind of risky to put it all into one thing. So where else do you feel a sense of like of self-worth, of connectedness, of spirituality? Where else do you get like your sense of self from?
Well, obviously, clearly being a mom, and I try to get rid of that mom guilt whenever I'm like, oh, I'm working too much or I'm traveling for something. I'm like, stop feeling guilty, because that doesn't help. Also, community with women going through the same thing has been a huge help for me. Like having other entrepreneurial minded, women is very helpful. And Nashville is a wonderful place for that, because I feel like there's a strong community here.
Totally.
It becomes so dangerous when you put so much of your personal self-worth into your current venture.
Yeah.
Right. This might be one of dozens of things. Like when you take a look at how many times Jeff Bezos failed before he started Amazon, like imagine if he tied his self-worth to all of those failed ventures. Right. Totally. And so, I think it's a dangerous thing to do if you tie those too close together to this venture. Market conditions might change. It might, fundraising environment might become a little bit more difficult. But, you could be the best leader with the best idea, best product market fit, and it could be exterior, conditions that actually
pandemic.
result.
How many people's business failed then?
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, I think that's the funny thing about being an entrepreneur, because there's like, it's so wild, the ups and downs. Like one day, like you'll feel like, oh, this is great, we're gonna really make it. And then like the next minute or the next hour, you're like, oh my God, this is all gonna come to an end tomorrow. I mean, there's just like no stability.
And it's like one day to the next.
Yeah.
Like it could literally all be in the same week. I feel like my personal morale as an entrepreneur is like me eating candy, wearing a CGM every single day.
Oh my God, I love that. That is like the perfect description.
That's so good. But would we have it any other way? Like that's the thing I sometimes wonder, right? Like we're kind of drawn to these
you have to like a little bit of chaos
style choices.
if you're going to do it, right? Because otherwise it's a lot easier to get the 9 to 5, to get to be the corporate warrior if like stability is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I think that there's an excitement to it. I think all of us see at least a little bit of it, and that is it's just the belief and the vision and the belief that like you have more to give and more to serve.
Yeah. So on that, then, what makes it worth it for you, Katy?
I'm gonna cry.
You can cry. You love a good cry.
I mean, ultimately, like my family is the most important thing to me, and my husband, I love dearly, and we've had our ups and downs. But like doing that with him, I think ultimately is a really beautiful thing. And then again, like, when I get those messages, I get also messages that say like, I hate your service and you suck, and that's hard. But like, it's the positive ones where you actually affect someone that really keeps you going.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love that. You talked a little bit, one last question for you. Like you talked a bit about like, you didn't know what you didn't know as you're going through this journey of starting this company. What would have been the resources, the Substacks, the podcasts, the books that have been helpful? Like if you were to name, 2 resources that you couldn't have done it without, what would they be?
That's interesting. I mean, podcasts first, there's a lot of podcasts on mindset, on managing your stress that have helped. And I can't think of them specifically. But hearing from other founders that like, this is normal and that you got to get through, and like, it can suck for, was it Bezos that was like 4 years sucks. And then the 5th year, you're finally like, you've made it.
Oh, it's so great. I'm only 2 years away.
Long 2 years sometimes. But like just knowing that like, you're not alone, and there's other people that have like are with you in this journey is pretty helpful.
Well, thank you for paying it forward and sharing your story today.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can they find Joi and Blokes?
Yeah, we hang out on Instagram a lot. Joi at Joi Women's Wellness is the for females, and Joi is JOI, and at Get Blokes is the men's Instagram, and then our website is joyandblokes.com.
Amazing. Katy,
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.